status. So last week we had great demos from Magnus, Jean-Thierry, Dean, and Antoine. And the meeting also lasted more than almost 2 hours, like the week before, which is weird because we would expect the meetings to last, to be shorter during the holiday breaks, but yeah, they weren't. So today is a new year. Happy New Year. With lots of releases. There can only be more releases than last year. At the same time, every year we say that and we have less releases. So demos, topics, demos. Who has demos? Lots of demos. I expect lots of demos.
I have a small demo and a website update.
Wow.
No demos from me this week. Demos from somebody else. Demos from me next week.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm happy with that. No new website, like 2 last week, 1 this week.
Like it was Christmas.
Like the Cornwall Visitor Center or the Cornwall Bakery or something like that. Not yet. Anyone else? I can do some stuff then. We need to look at YesSql because it was merged. Because using it, so he finds bugs, so that's good. Topics. Good. Okay, so status first. Status first. Option 1, nothing new. We'll do triage on Thursday. It will unblock some PRs. This one last week was the 29. So if I look at that here, oh, I will filter on dev branch. It will be better. Here, MultiText Field. So we had a demo last week from Antoine, and now it's merged. Thank you. Don't stop background service on exception. Sounds about right. So now the try is inside the while. Okay, good. And what the while is doing is restarting the background task if there is an exception. Okay. Removed adasd from select button. I saw that passing last week when we saw it, when we look at the PRs. And I assume someone with a French keyboard did that. No, with an English keyboard. Oh, that's the opposite. Ah, yeah, because now I have a QWERTY, so that's why I see that, but the French keyboard will not see that. Okay, so that's a QWERTY keyboard that did that. Okay, sorry, Antoine, or whatever. Jasmin maybe has a ASCII keyboard. I don't know.
I think it was Jasmin with an English keyboard.
Jasmin, you have an English keyboard? You have a QWERTY?
It's a QWERTY keyboard, yeah.
That's what Canadian do? Or just you?
I always had QWERTY keyboard. Here in Canada, we use French-Canadian keyboard, and it's QWERTY. It's never ASCII.
Okay, good. Interesting. So if I asked Jean-Philippe, will he say the same thing?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay. It's very valuable knowledge. And so you have a QWERTY with accents?
Yeah, but it's not on the keyboard though, but when you buy a French-Canadian keyboard, there's printed accents. Yeah.
Ooh. So many French-Canadian keyboards. So what do we see here?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
weird. That's it?
Yeah, this is the one, and the other one is the accents that you can put on top of the letters.
Oh, yeah, that's weird. That's not totally different in
You
French.
do like, yeah.
In French, we have the accents there. Okay, that's okay. More knowledge for me today. So Talmac Han fixed it. Sitemap init and cleanup. So Jean-Thierry is fixing the sitemaps. Names, checking stuff.
Yeah, this is just a follow-on from I think the original distributed PR, where we'd done some. John 3 had done some work there to make sure that the caches were unique across 2 instances, and this is now cleaning it up and improving it. Actually, it's a nice little change.
Orchard cleanup. That's a weird name. I accept it, but that's weird. What do you use for that usually? We don't have anything like this. Cleanup.
No, we don't. And I looked at it and I didn't have anything better to suggest to me, to be honest.
Yeah, that's why I think it's good. But that seems weird to have a feature that's called cleanup. I would expect, like, why would it be a feature? I should just clean up, and that's clean up. Okay. NUI remove layout stray div. Why stuff?
Yeah, it's the wrapper, the first div that was not wrapping at the.
I saw I did a Skype session with yesterday with Mike from Crest Apps. You see here when I say Skype me, is I done? Well, it was done with Skype, and we fixed these issues. So that was interesting, by the way, different discussion. And I saw the admin and the header, when you scroll, looked different. It was like the fixed header was more fixed, or there was something different. Is that related? It was weird. Maybe it was.
I don't think so, because like the wrapper here is used for people that does customization on the admin, but it does nothing for us. We have a class, but there's nothing in the class in the CSS files.
Okay, I will have to run quickly to see if something changed, but it's nice. Maybe it was just visual effect. Cores module has been fixed in terms of spelling. I saw that after, so cross origin request.
Resource sharing.
Oh, cross origin resource sharing. Thank you. So you also, by the way, learned about what it means while doing the fix. That's good. And we commented on the PR, so all the did you take into account the PR comments?
Yeah, and but not the data attribute comment.
Okay, I don't know which it is. I remember I put some comments. Content localization URL case. Okay. Cores log.
That's one of your comments.
I see. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Very important. Not important at all, but important that everyone knows how to do that. I mean, for the sake of knowing how it works. That's good. Add spacing between badges. That's why you have some concurrence, people fighting with you.
Yeah.
Spacing. Okay.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Filter search feature for ListPart 2. Is that a Lombiq developer?
Yes.
New one? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do I know? Okay. David. Okay, so ListPart has a search feature now with the display text and everything. Okay, oh, in the bar, okay, nice. So I can search for blog posts. Wow. It's using YesSql, it's the best. Course menu. Okay. Yeah, so bad review on this PR. New contributor, code mirror, upgrade YesSql. Did he break anything? Have you started the functional test task just to see?
Yeah, I fired that one off. It did run.
Wow, good, because I was worried since the issue from Sitka this morning. I will have to check this issue, but
there is a little issue with OpenID with the issue with same issue as Sitka's got.
Okay, good. I'm good. That's the same issue. It should be easy to fix. I'll talk about it later. Fix setup username validation. Oh, because of the user identity changes and email /
Yeah, we actually had no validation at all on the username previously.
That's crashing.
So,
oh no, it wasn't crashing. It was just breaking.
It was failing setup later in the process rather than actually giving them an error. So
okay, the username is not required anymore. That's good.
It is required. It's just returned from the view, from the controller.
Because it's
it's in the model state.
Tag helper. I will be always confused by this tag helper if you don't realize that it will be empty. No, it's a dynamic tag. But if we do that, what's happening if we have? It's just overriding a message.
Yeah, if you actually look in that controller, then it's got completely different text for all the model state here as what's actually in the view. So there's now two messages that you might get. You might get the username is required or the username has invalid characters.
Okay.
But because we can supply that in the model state, it's the better place to put it.
I see. Better. Yeah. Oh, it's breaking all Antoine's work on localization.
Again, another unused translation because it went into the model state but was never shown in the view.
Okay. So it's not breaking things, just
making life easier for Antoine. Less translations that are unused.
Same time I say, Antoine, that all the PRs on the localization files, they appear to be written by Antoine because it is the account that is used from Crowdin. But I'm not sure he's doing anything actually. And at the same time, we got a message from a Chinese user who said that the Chinese was ready. So if you take a look at Crowdin, if I have it in my, I don't have it, so I will look at the repository.
And I updated the POT files yesterday.
On the repository translation. On the Crowdin. So, translations, and I go there because I know there is a link.
Yeah, and then I think there is a button to sync the translation, and they are updating the repository.
I have no idea what you're saying. What do you think?
I click on the synchronize button.
Somewhere in Crowdin.
Yeah, in the settings. And,
and
it's updating the GitHub repository or shortcode.translation.
What do you mean updating?
Synchronizing.
But what does it have to synchronize? Because it creates pull requests there. So
in the localization folder, there are POT files.
But isn't it done from PO files there? Sorry, from PRs.
Okay. My bad. I explain again. I'm using the PO file extractor, the tool to extract the translations.
To generate the PO files in the translations, and the sync will download, will download all the POT files from this folder. Well, from
then I commit the changes in the localization folder. When I sync on, I click on sync, they are updated on Crowdin.
Okay, good. Okay, that's the flow. Yeah. So there is a two-way communication between Crowdin and the repository. Antoine runs the PO file extractor to update the definition in this folder, and then Crowdin will sync these definitions to update the list of strings available in the translations. And then whenever someone files some translations, Crowdin creates a PR to update the other POT files than the English one, to push data. Okay, good. And here, sometimes someone has to merge this PR.
Yeah, and also from Crowdin, I need to sometimes build the translations.
Okay, so here I just quash and merge. That's what I do usually, sometimes when I think about it. Maybe we should have a task on GitHub Actions to do it automatically. If every week, if the PR is green, merge it automatically, because there is no reason not to merge. That would be great.
There are two branches. One is the dev and one is the L10N_dev.
Yeah, but at least merge the L10F to dev automatically. This but the automatic PRs create an automatic merge. That would be great, I think. Yeah, so Crowdin, and you see Chinese simplified 100%. I think this is the only one. Before, only French was 100%, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you see, I updated yesterday, and someone Chinese one already updated.
So it's great.
Yeah.
Italian slacking. So I will look at something. Janice, where is the Greek? It's there. 79. Who's working on that? It's good. 79 is great. How do we know who contributed to the thing?
We don't really know.
So sad. Okay, make sure you can check activity.
Yeah.
Boom. So if you can see, we're running so this user eternity. What language is that? Russian, Polish. Great. That's the contributors. And it's funny because we don't see those people in the code base, but I mean, if they translate, it means they use it and they're happy with that. So
yes, and that's why I added most of them in the contributors.
Okay, very nice.
Not on the GitHub repository.
It's funny how we don't see. So Temcode PMP, we know him on them in the code base, but otherwise, I don't recognize his names. This guy I know. It's funny that this kind of users are people who care about code and people who don't have or need to extend anything in the code, just need to update it.
In fact, you don't have to be a developer to contribute to localize.
Yeah, but what I mean is that your implication with the project. Some people go into the code, go into the meetings and do some things, and because they have to improve the code for their own usage. And these users here that we don't know, they are using Orchard, but they don't require to do any change to use Orchard, which is interesting. Meaning it works. Okay, it works for them. What's shipped works for them. They just need updates on the languages. So that's great. Okay. Support inline location for styles and script. Oh, that's what Dean did. So that's a null PR also. Did you do a demo at some point or?
Oh no, that was a quite new PR. I'll have a demo next week with some much more cool stuff to go with it.
It's a new PR, but you mentioned that during a meeting, right? Like triage or something that you need that.
I think we talked about it at triage, yeah.
That's good. Okay. I don't remember what it does. I just remember it was good. We'll see next week. Fixes workflow after upgrading YesSql. I fixed YesSql with this issue. Update index YesHTML. Ah, yeah, we saw that also last week, right? AF usually in English means as fuck, right? But I think it was not the reason it was there. Who broke it? DetailAdmin data URL only rename. Yeah. Fix typo in Media README. Okay. Text. Oh, that's the new. No, that's the old one. Fixes menu item views. Fixes menu item views. It's funny. It's not the first time I say it. When you see Chantieri poking around the code like this, fixing random stuff, not low-level stuff. I mean, he's done with his work. He needs more challenges. GraphiQL update, GraphiQL update, and new packages. MailKit, like every week, we get a new version of MailKit. NLog. Okay. Good changes. Next, demos. So let's do a demo with Antoine. Antoine said he's got a big demo on a small website, or the other way around.
No, it's a small demo and an update of an existing website. So let me share. Okay, not this one. Okay, can you see my screen? I'm on the admin, and I'm gonna show you a new setting that will allow you to display the new menu on the left. We talked about it last week.
I smiled, sorry, I thought I was muted. There's a new option to update the admin. Okay, good. Okay. It's not to display a new menu. It's the new menu. Okay.
The new menu. So
there is nothing new here. Okay.
If you uncheck it and save, there is no new menu anymore.
So the default is to not display the new menu.
It is to display it. It's true by default.
I prefer when the default is not displayed.
Okay.
That's what we agreed, that nobody cares about this menu, and okay, let's put like it's just a new recipe because the migration don't do anything, so the current state will still be there. So for the people who have that, we won't break anything, but for new setups, we won't display it by default.
So that was the demo. It's still a pending PR. Dean commented and asked if maybe it should be a feature instead of a setting.
Yeah, it could in this case. And you enable it or you disable it. I think, yeah, that could be a feature.
So I don't know which one is the best way to do it.
If you make a feature, then you don't have anything to change to make it not enabled by default because you just don't have to reference it. Oh, but it should be breaking because people won't have it by default. So,
well, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't care as long as it's not. Well, it's better that we have a feature. It's not critical, but it's also better to not have it by default when you have a new setup. And while it's open, you see the header here. There is a shadow under the header bar.
Yes.
Or is it new?
There has been a UI changes by Jasmine, I think.
That's what I was mentioning. So that's what I noticed yesterday. Okay, it looks nice. And by seeing a shadow, I would expect that when you scroll, the stuff at the top is sticky. Is that okay? Not maybe in the menu, but on the right, like if you have a big editor like a new page, and you scroll, can you create a new and scroll. No, okay. Good. To new page. Create new. No,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's not a good one.
Okay. If you create a new page, maybe if you create a new page, like I said, maybe you will see it.
New article.
Yeah.
Big page.
Nice thing with page is that you can add lots of widgets and it will go down very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, your computer is slow. Okay. Yes. Wow. Beautiful.
It's been there since like maybe 4 or 5 months, but
I haven't used Orchard in the last 4 or 5 months.
okay.
Does it answer your question?
Yeah.
I make things such that Orchard is better. Okay. Like ask Jean-Thierry, has he ever made a website with Orchard? No, he still work on that. That's fine.
Yeah, I know that. He wants to have it done first for doing a website that he told me last time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
Okay, good. That looks nice. I like it. It's super nice. Thank you very much. So that was the first demo.
The small demo, yes. The other one is about try.orchardcore.fr, not .com. So the French version. This is the one I created.
That's super not confusing because when you go on the .fr, which is like when you go there, it's still in English. So I mean,
yes, indeed.
So it's just and actually it's just that this one you pay for it, and the .com you don't pay for it, or the .net you don't pay for it. That's the only difference, right?
I'm hosting it, so I can do whatever I want with it. And I updated it to the latest version, dev version of the packages.
What prevents you from doing it on the .NET one?
Nothing.
Me?
No. I
I
just don't want to touch it because I don't want it stable using the stable version.
Well, the dev branch is the stable version.
Yeah.
No?
Somehow, yeah. Maybe we should talk about this at some point because it's not stable for some people now.
Yeah.
But it is. But we do some mistakes. Like I do some mistakes sometimes, and Antoine too. We all do mistakes and we break things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
Okay. So the changes are that this is the latest dev versions, and I added this recipe instead of the coming soon. I used the blank recipe. So let's try.
That's the blank. It's just a thumbnail. So blank recipe. What is a blank? Oh, this is for OpenID stuff. Well, GraphiQL stuff. I made the blank.
It's an empty website, so I'm gonna show you. I received an email to connect. You can try if you want. So I open the link that I received, and you can see that the blank recipe doesn't have any homepage. Okay, so in the email I received the admin password.
I can see your password. It's just not. Oh no, it's not just that.
Okay, so I'm logged in, and now this is empty, but I included some recipes. So let's try to execute those recipes. So these are not setup recipes, they are actual small recipes. So the first one is to change the current theme. Run, yes. Let's open the site with this wonderful link. So the theme has been changed. Okay, first recipe. Second one, create a page content type, and
so it's also enabling the theming engine, because the blank recipe doesn't have the theming engine.
Yes, yes. Yes, now there is, I guess, if I refresh, there is a design section with the themes. So I run the homepage recipe, and now there is a homepage. You can see it in the content items. Okay. Then I will enable the menu feature and add a menu with the home page. You should see it here. Okay. Home. And then I will execute all the recipes. So I will add the layers. And now there are widgets, zones, and you can add some layers. I will create a raw HTML content type and add a widget in the footer. Okay. And now there is a footer. The footer is a raw HTML. You can see that there is a problem in the theme. There is a double dashes with the title. I need to understand why. Now you can add a post and categories and tags taxonomies. Let's try. Okay. So there is a blog, there are tags, categories. I can go to the blog. Okay, so there are no views for the blog post summary or blog post details, so it just looks like this for the moment. And I can add a liquid page and create an about page. So there will be about page in liquid. You can see about my site. That's a liquid page with this liquid syntax. I can enable the queries, and there will be a new content query. Okay, I need to fix it. Just the type parameter. I don't remember the syntax.
Type. So this is JSON. Type colon. Well, in double quote. Type colon blog post.
Okay. You get the idea. I can add a deployment plan. Deployment plan. And you will have an export deployment plan to export all of your content. That's it. That was to explain how it works.
Looks great. It's a good idea. What I want is, I think it's missing something. First, nobody will find it because they will click there and they will see a blank site and they will go away. So how to lose people is to show them this blank site, I'm sure, like it is today, because no way they will go in the admin after setting up the, no way. Then I like the different steps that you have, the different recipe setup files, recipe files. But I'm sure we will need actually some explanation for each of that. First, that you can click, but then some text to show to the user this is what you did with that, and this is what the file contains. If you want to replicate that, it's like a tutorial. It's like a Lombiq thing, like step by step. These are all the things you can do on the website, and this is how you do that with a recipe. If you want to look at the example, or at least even if you don't want to look at the recipe, it's like a guide. There should be a guide actually behind that. One guide that shows you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 every time. What is this adding to the website? And that also shows you what you can add to a website, all the features. That's why I think it's great. But as a try-orchard recipe, that's super weird.
Yeah, maybe in the end we just have a recipe, a bootstrap recipe, just to enable a simple site with all those. What would be great with recipe?
Yeah, what would be great with that is the feature that Lombiq made for Orchard 1, where you have pop-ups and you say next, 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 and it explains what it does and it clicks for you, or it tells you click there, and when you click there, then you have a new pop-up and it shows you things. Remember what I mean?
The one that Lombiq made.
Yeah, in Orchard 1. Not their try-orchard, which apparently has evolved. I haven't seen this new version. Yeah, yes, that exactly. Yeah, and you did that for try-orchard. Yeah, that will help on this side to guide people. So that's fine. Then they go on the blank page, but then they see that, oh, I can type admin to go on the admin, and that's I think what people might want instead, even for the other recipes, because otherwise they don't know what to do, and they're like, yeah, cool, there's a site. What do I do now? The other recipes are fine because there is a website, so we can see it's a blog and everything, and we have an admin link. Okay, let's go there. But otherwise, if it's empty, and they have to go to the recipes, and they have to click and to look by themselves what to look for. So that's hard. So yeah, okay, that's a good idea. So we will need something like that, like their module here. And that might be reused by devs to create stories for their website, like to explain to editors, like there is a new editor that gets into the company and, okay, just click there and it will show you what you can do, how to create an article, how to publish a blog post and things like this. And the staging, and then, yeah, that will be great. Okay, good, looks good, thank you. Is it faster than orchardcore.net? Should I use it instead? Should send the load. Great. That's it?
Yes.
Thank you. How do I share? I lost the share button. So YesSql, people complain. They just keep complaining, like Dean, Zoltan, just complain all the time. They always want more. So what they complain about? It's actually Zoltan complaining, and then Dean is like, yeah. Where is my issue? Zoltan created it. It's not it. Did I not close the issue? This one. This one. So Zoltan noticed that when we do updates on content items, when one deletes a document, all the index tables corresponding to the document type get a delete query. And apparently this delete query is actually a single delete query. So I had some code before that was trying to batch them, but Dean did a benchmark and realized that nope, the code is there, but it doesn't work because Dapper is used wrong. So he found how the thing I was typing to use Dapper was not working because there is a weird behavior inside that. If it's not the correct collection, then it's not batching stuff. And even though it's not actually batching, it's just sending multiple requests. And this is what you get on actual websites. So what's the difference between the two lists? Locally and SQL Server. So if you run locally using SQL Server and you have 1,000 what indexes, okay, 1,000 indexes, it takes 1 second. So you might not notice that it's slow. It's slow, but it looks like maybe because I have too many indexes. But when you use SQL Server on Azure SQL Server, then 28 seconds. So you start noticing it even after 100 indices. Apparently, we have around less than 20, I'd say, today on our Shortcode, but you can quickly arrive to 100. I don't think you'll get more than 100 because if you have 100 indexes, you have other issues with your website and it's a different scale, but still 2 seconds per page is not acceptable. So the issue was, so you could definitely see the issue about the deletes and a delete of an index is the fact that with YesSql, when you update a document, it needs to update all indexes. So it will rebuild them. And an index can return multiple records. Like if I'm indexing the name of someone, I might want to index the first name, the last name, the middle name, and have 3 records, 1 per name. So what it does is it builds the 3 new records in memory, and it will send a query to delete any record that were associated to the document, and then sends 3 inserts for the new records. Okay, so you have like 1 for the delete and 3 for the inserts. But it sends a delete even for indexes that didn't return anything, because the fact that you didn't return anything might mean that there is nothing anymore associated. So you need to delete and then send nothing. So this way we get a delete per index. That's not optimal, but that's how YesSql works, and that's optimal for reads and not writes. The goal is to make reads faster than writes. Still, we should not have to send 1 independent query to do the deletes per index. So that's what this issue is about, and I managed to fix it. I got some pressure, and under pressure I behave better. So pull request, I will look at the close because then you can see the before and the after. We showed that. SQL reimplement filters. What is that? Reimplement filters. I'm confused. What is that? What did I do? Jesus.
That was your when syntax.
When. Yeah, the message is totally. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Something we can talk about also later. But this one, this is the PR. So. Okay.
That's the other PR. Down a bit. Re-implement batching.
That's better. I like the title. This is what it needs. Because I did implement batching once, like last summer, but this is what I didn't realize that no, the way I'm doing SQL Dapper is wrong. It's not doing batching. Well, I did some batching, but not for everything. And the thing that it batched, what didn't matter. The thing that mattered was not batched. So here, I did some changes, didn't check that, and it was better. So before batching, with 1,000 on SQL Azure, we were at 27. After batching, 15. Okay, that's better. And locally, with
and I will point out that my internet connection was running really slowly that day, and I had a lot of trouble getting to Azure. So I think it's probably faster than that. But
even yes, you see, even with 1 index, it was 3 seconds. So that was an issue.
Yeah, so big internet problems that day.
Okay,
so not reliable, but better.
But locally, we can see that even with 1,000, we get, so it's not no exponential, like, well, it doesn't look like before. So 1 index 0.22, 100 0.09. So yeah, that's super stable here, even with 1,000, compared to before, like 1.2 seconds, 3 times faster here, even with 1,000. So faster every time. And this was the first set of changes where I could update something. And how it looks like is, I thought I had pasted it. Yes. So I have multiple try here. I did local setup with a MailKit feed and it works fine. When I create a blog post, here are the only batch that is sent. Okay, so if I create a blog post in Orchard, after the change, there is a single communication which is done with database that contains everything here. So create the document, create the content item index, update the content item index with the document ID. So it's done in 2 steps because there are some cases that it can't be done in 1 step, some reduce index. Again, an index and again index. So you see content item, contained, and author part index. So that's the 3 indexes to update. When we create a blog post, when we update a blog post, then the deletes derive. When we create a blog post, that's fine. There is nothing to delete because there was nothing before. So it knows there is no delete to send. But when we update, it says, okay, delete all the indexes. And all these indexes here, it's actually wrong because there is no layer metadata index on a blog post. But today the code is too dumb. It just says, well, there is a content item and there is an index for these content items, for all the content items. It's called the layer metadata index. So I'm not sure if this one might have some indexes for layer metadata. So it says send a delete just in case. So that's dumb, but the other ones are fine. And you can see here for each index, we have a delete. And it used to be a single query, communication query with database. Now there is a single communication that contains everything. It used to be like 20 queries. Okay, now it's a single one with n statements. So much more powerful. And after that, I was able, you see, so I think I didn't notice that, maybe that's me or both of us, notice that there is an insert and update, and the update is could just be merged into the insert because this value is already known from previous. So we could just update that. So I did some more complex ifs in the code to optimize the optimizable ways. And after that, again, now we have that list of course. So it's still a single one, but instead of this amount, we divide by 2 this part. So instead of having insert update for each index, now we have just insert. And one case, an update, but it's different. It's just updating the local ID. We still have all the deletes, and some of them are useless, but these are quick. So we have just that now when we update a blog post, a single one. And then there is the other PR that I was confused what it was, and it shows what's happening after. So with the other PR, we are able to teach the index when not to send deletes. Like there will never be any index created for this document, so don't send deletes. And after that, we can see that there is no more the layer and no more the alias because the blog post doesn't have an alias. Okay, so these 2 can be omitted and it finds it. And this is by having a new property, a new method on the index provider to explain when to not use the index provider. So it will not even go to the map thing. In this case, we say, if you don't have the alias part, don't try to go in the alias index. Okay, so that's what it does. But it's not yet enabled on OC because there are some issues. Sometimes we don't know that we can't have that. For alias, it's easy. For taxonomy, it's harder. So we'll see. But yeah, that's the big change. So it will make things faster. On writes, on reads, it's exactly the same thing. There is no change. I don't think there is anything to do on reads, but there are some features that could be implemented, like being able to send 2 queries at the same time and then read the results serially. It's not usual that we do that, but that could be supported in case people want to do that to optimize things. But right now it's easy enough. So that's how it looks like. So that's a big change in YesSql, and with a big change come bugs, new bugs, and Sipke, who is using YesSql in ELSA, has found 2 bugs. One has been fixed and another one has yet to be fixed. The issue being that now I used to use Dapper to send. I used to let Dapper create some queries like update and any sets, and now I have to do them by myself to build the queries because they have to be batched. I need to get the statement. I can't let Dapper create the statement for me. I need the statement. So I already had it for some cases, but I need now to compute with also the values. And we are finding issues there, mapping between .NET objects and SQL. But this will be fixed soon. It already works in Orchard Core, just specific, very specific usages like using an enum directly in the index instead of mapping it to an integer or a string. Or using datetime offset, which we don't do in Orchard Core because we know it's useless, it's bad. We can just use a datetime UTC and a different time zone field. So that's it for YesSql. Questions? No questions. It's fast. Oh, something else. It's fast. Antoine suggested to have some benchmarks. That's good. But it's funny because before you suggested that, Antoine, I did run a benchmark like I used to sometimes locally on Orchard. So I run a load on the blog post and even on the about page, and super disappointing. It looks like it's slower than it used to be a year ago. So I have to dig into that. But even without, it's not even related to database because it was just reads, but something is, so it's still super fast. You can feel it when you use Orchard, but it's at least twice as slow as it used to be last year on my machine. And at first I use my new laptop and I'm like, okay, maybe my laptop is slower than my desktop, and I tested it on the desktop, but I have the same result. So I think something weird went in. We have to check at some point. So we'll look into that later. Questions? Comments? No? I will show you quickly. Then, you know that I don't work on Orchard, but I work on everything else like Liquid, Gint, and everything, and Shortcodes. So I updated Shortcodes to use a new parser. Shortcodes. No, it's merged. It's merged. It's merged. So the idea is that shortcodes, for shortcodes, we made a parser. I made a parser manually, a handwritten parser. And what I did is that I extracted the parser itself to make it reusable because it was fast and beautiful. So I'm like, yeah, let's reuse this shortcode thing and make it a project. So now it's using Parlot. So if I look at the PR, you will see it's the PR is very easy to understand. Before this PR, you see we had the character, the cursor classes, and now they are not there anymore. They are in a package, and the scanner is also gone, and the code is almost the same. So just typo here. The code is almost the same, just that the class name changed. So now we have a shortcodes parser that is using Parlot, which is a new package that contains what was in shortcode. I wrote the grammar of shortcodes. So shortcode, well, a text is based on shortcode and text nodes. So shortcode, text, then shortcode, then text, then shortcode, then text, and so on. The shortcode can have an identifier and arguments. Well, it has an identifier and needs arguments between brackets. And then you have a closing shortcode. An argument is identifier equals value. It's actually also just a value, if you want. And a value is either a string or a number, so integer or decimal. That's all it can be. Then this code, which is the same as before, almost just from the library, you can see here is just a bunch of first level methods like parse node, parse text, parse integer, parse string, something like that, and it's just aggregated just to follow the grammar and to build a syntax tree of the thing. So that's all it is. But now it's a new library. And next week, I'll show you how I use the new library in the other packages that we use in Orchard to make things faster, because it's faster than the ones we're using for Fluid, for instance. I'll show you later. So shortcodes is faster now. We can update it, and next week Liquid Fluid will be faster also. It's already, but I'll show you next week.
So Isham started a PR.
That to NuGet. Sorry.
Yes and yes. What? Isham started a PR. Yes, so that's why Isham started. So it's funny because when I published the package, when I created the repository, I didn't tweet about it or blog or whatever. I just created the repository, and I started seeing likes. And I'm like few minutes after.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was at all, and I searched and I found it.
Yeah, and I pinged like Laurent because I know this guy, and I'm like, how do you know about this repository? And he says because he follows me, and when you follow someone, you get a notification when they create a repository. That's how they got that. So Isham also found it, and Isham, by seeing it, understood what it was, and he was like, okay, I will do the same thing as you did for shortcode using Parlot for Fluid, because Fluid is also using Irony and is parsing the liquid templates. And he started, and when he said that on Fluid, on Fluid he created an issue to do that, okay? And I said, instead of doing that, which is complex, try first, if you want, with the SQL grammar in NorchCore, because the SQL grammar is also a parser to parse SQL, and it's Irony, and it will benefit from the perf of Parlot, and it's much easier to do. So that's why he started the PR to use that, because there was a package. There is a package for that. I need to update it. Lots of newer features there. Yeah, and since shortcodes, there are new features. So like this is the code from shortcode. Okay, well, this is just to parse an expression. So you read a char, you read stuff, read numbers, very low level tokens. But there is also a Fluent API to build parser, something like unary and star mapping, which is 0 more, or which is that thing times. So you just write stuff like this, and inside it, it will use the low level API. So you have the choice to use the high level or to use the low level. And you have a perf cost for that, but even with that, it's still faster than anything you can find in terms of parser. So Sprasher Superpower is like Irony, the one we are using. Pidgin is one created by Stack Overflow, and this is Parlot doing the same thing. So this is parsing JSON documents in this case, but you see 10 times faster than something like Sprasher, which is famous. Pidgin has been created to be faster than Sprasher, and Parlot now is faster than Pidgin for every cases in this case, and even in allocations. Look at that allocations, they are equal because it's just allocating JSON. Well, in this case, it's faster, but compared to parsers like Irony, Sprasher, it's much faster. Same thing here, just comparing the low level, the Fluent API, and Pidgin. Even the Fluent API is 5 times faster than Pidgin. Same thing for these big expressions, and these are just mathematical expressions that I'm parsing in this case. And in terms of allocation, it's a little bit better than Pidgin. So it's less allocations, it's faster. So that's why we should see some, well, we see some gains in shortcodes, definitely. I think it's ×2, something like that. And I can see also changes in Fluid. Fluid also, it takes half the time to parse and 10 times smaller allocations. And it's not yet the fastest, because if we migrate the Fluid grammar that I made to the raw, we should be able to get, let's say, 3 times faster again, and even less allocations. And the conversion is very easy, because the Fluent API is just a mapping direct to the low-level API, which is not that low-level. So that's super nice. Just to show you what it looks like, there is a PR and the grammar for Fluid, which is not super easy, but because I worked on Parlot, it was much easier for me to write. What is that? How it looks like for liquid. So you can find, let me show you an example. A range, for instance, is when you type something like 1.3, or it can be also foo.5, okay? And that's what it says. So it says left parentheses, and then one of an integer or a member, then the text ... then an integer or a member, this one, then the right parentheses. And when you match that, you return a range expression with the first element, which is an expression, and the second element, which is an expression. When it finds the first one, it says, if it's an integer, it returns an expression already. If it's a member, you create an expression. Well, you map the member expression to the type expression, to the base type. So they have both the same type. So this thing returns the same type and so on. So that's how it works. So it's super easy to create a parser, and it's still super fast. Can be faster, but super. And this full code here, this file, it's not trivial. But compared to what we had before we had that file ×2, plus another file that contained all the logic to find the beginning and the end of each tag and the recursivity, which we have now here directly in the nodes. So it's much easier to maintain actually. And what's good is that I assume this is the one I fixed this morning, the last one, if it works. Everything is green. So all the unit tests in Fluid pass now. Well, now they passed before the change, but even with this change, everything is passing. So that's great. That's what I did during my holiday break. Just did that. So fun. Good. That was my demo. Nothing to do with Shortcodes directly, just indirectly, which is still good because it will make the liquid parsing faster. Shortcodes are already faster. Now liquid will be even faster. We can use liquid everywhere now. We can replace Razor. No, the rendering is exactly the same because it's the same ASD. There is no change in rendering liquid. So once the file is cached, there is absolutely no gain. The only gain we have here is when we use, for instance, a live preview, because whenever we type a letter, we have a new parsing that happens. Okay. That's it. Questions, comments?
Awesome.
Just having fun.
Yeah, but I mean, you work on performance with the ASP.NET team, so that helps. Yeah, that helps a lot for us. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the goal was to make something faster, because when I evaluated the cost of parsing Fluid compared to other Fluid parser, it was fast, but not as fast as the fastest. And I wanted to understand what was there. So last year when I benchmarked Sprasher, SuperPower, and Irony, I realized that they all had the same cost of allocations. So whenever you go with a Fluent API like this, you had to pay for that. But I will not rewrite everything in low-level parser generator. So when I did Shortcodes, I did a semi-low level, and that was very fast for what we wanted, and that was good. So I was like, maybe I could extract it as a library. So I started to extract, and then I was like, then where is the Fluent API losing so much? And I tried, and then I saw that it was not that slow. And then I thought, well, it's super fast. But I found Pidgin. And when I found Pidgin, I was like, well, I can just throw everything away because Pidgin is exactly what I want. Pidgin is a parser combinator library that is super nice API. And the goal for when they made that was for perf. So the numbers they show was like, yeah, that's great. That's much better than Sprasher and SuperPower. So I tried to do a minimalistic Fluent API with Parlot and to compare with Pidgin, and it was still faster than Pidgin. So I continued on that. And now it's still super fast compared to Pidgin.
And Pidgin is done with what language? Is it done in C++? So C#?
Yeah. Oh. So what I'm talking here is just C# solutions. Okay, I'm not talking about C++ solution, whatever, because we want to run in C#. However, if you take tools like NTLR, which is the most famous parser generator, NTLR can generate as many languages as you want. There are some C# bindings, and by the way, the person responsible for the C# binding is working in the .NET team. I've used NTLR since like 2000 single digit, like 2004, 5, something like that. So I know that very well. I've done so many languages with that. The first version of Gint was using that, I think. And I've done, it's so funny, it's out of topic, but look at that. If I go on the Irony project, which is the one I was using in Fluid, I'm still using in Fluid, okay? Or the one we are using in SQL Grammar. Yeah. It's so funny. You see this guy here, Alexei Yakolev. He's the maintainer now. Well, the original creator of Irony works at Microsoft, but Alexei here worked on Sprasher and now contributes to Irony and then contributed to Sprasher, something like that, I think. And if I looked at his profile, and I saw some, you see, he built the mathematical expression for Sprasher, which is another parser generator in .NET made by the guy who made AutoFac. So if you look at this repository that he made, I look at the README, and it's an expression, a mathematical expression evaluator. And when you read the thing, it says, can be easily compiled and executable. It contrasts with interpreted expression evaluators such as NCalc. I made NCalc. So it's funny how the loop creates. You don't know NCalc. I know it because I made it like 15 years ago. And you got so if it's so someone I won't say stole it, okay? You see evaluant here. Maybe here, Bertrand, you know what evaluant is, right? Let's see if you're still there.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Of course.
What is it? just to be sure. I didn't say anything, right?
That was your company in France.
Yeah. So that's the company I made. I created in 2001, okay? Before I joined Microsoft. So that just proves you that it's my code. And by the way, I'm sure maybe the license says that. Let me check. Yeah, it says it, okay? So yeah. I didn't say it. So it used to be on Codeplex, and someone, before the code gets lost, yeah, I see. And actually that's him. Well, before the code gets lost, it's interesting. I didn't know it wasn't. I just saw the mention. I didn't click on the repository. They copy pasted the code and they created a GitHub repository for that. And what it does is, and you will see the relationship between all the things I do in Orchard and Gint and Shortcodes and everything. You type something like 2 + 3 × 5 expression, you say evaluate, and it gives you the results. Okay, it's interpreted the thing, but it's not just math. You can pass dates, you can pass functions, you can add your own functions. So it's like a micro language, okay, but just for mathematical expressions and variables and things like this. And this was before I made Gint. After that, I made Gint, which is a real scripting engine, but this one is not. There are ifs and else and things like that, but you can't do loops and things like that. So that's why I made after that Gint. And you see around the time 2011, this was the last version they made. But I started Gint with a colleague in France around 2009, 10, something like that, 2008, I'd say. So yeah, so just saying that, what I was saying, yeah, Antelar is also a way to generate code, but Antelar generates the code. Once it's generated, you have to compile it and add zone. The nice thing with parser combinator like Sprasher or Pidgin is that it's all from C# dynamically in the language. So you can alter it dynamically. You can change the grammar dynamically. That's super useful for Fluid because we can add custom tags with custom expressions, custom blocks dynamically. And we do that in Orchard. We add custom tags. We add custom expressions to provide features.
And it needs to be on runtime. Yeah.
Yes. And Pidgin then is another one that works on C#. I discovered just by reading documentation about the parser generator. So example, and you will see the code is kind of similar to Sprasher using link expression and everything, but they have this digit, parse, or throw, digit, they have strings, the same thing as the low level in Parlot. And everything here is a parser. That's how parser combinator works. This one is a parser, but you have the then, which takes a parser and returns another parser. Okay. So that's how it works, and then they have benchmarks numbers comparing to a F# solution for expression, mathematical expression. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I did the expression benchmark on my side with Pidgin, okay, and I know that I'm faster. And then I saw the JSON bench, and it was a good example. So I did the same grammar because it's a simple JSON is simple. And what I liked here is that I had already the numbers for Sprasher, Superpower, and fparsec, which is in F#. And you can see that it's a little bit faster than fparsec. It's much faster than Sprasher. So when I saw the numbers, I'm like, Pidgin is great because this is exactly where I wanted to go. Because these numbers, I knew with Fluid that they were the same as Irony. So I'm like, if we can get these numbers, it's great. And also the allocations. If you look at the allocations, 5 megabytes, 100K, 1 megabyte, 100K. Okay, that's huge. The difference is huge here. And that's really why we need a new parser. But now I know that Parlot is even faster than that. Okay, so that's interesting.
It was like twice faster.
For the JSON, it was 4 times faster. And then this is just the Fluent level. So this is apples to apples, okay? The Fluent API, something like you write the grammar like this, okay? Like this, Fluent API. Apples to apples, it's 3 or 4 times faster. And then there is the low-level API, which I use in Shortcodes, and that is very easily convertible from the Fluent API to the low-level API. And it's even much faster. So if we want to go the next level, we can convert this thing to the low-level API. And it's super easy because whenever you see char plus, you change the code by if scanner.readChar. And then you have that. If parse rec, which itself will parse. So it's, I mean, just elementary blocks that you have to write the code for instead of wrapping them in a class that has more allocations and passes parameters around and copy values to be less dynamicity. But that's good. So ideally,
more strict code.
Yeah, and ideally, what can be done, and that may be something I will do, is you see this code here, 0, 1, and skip separated. So separated is just give me a separator, and what should I like? What should I read? So this code, it returns an object graph of parser. So this returns a new object of type 0, 1. This returns a new object of type sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these guys, instead of parsing the thing, they could just generate code, like generate the code that does the for loop, generate the code that does the if end, okay? Generate the code that takes the code and writes it down. And so instead of evaluating it, it could also have a different visitor, which is generate me the code at the low level. So it will serialize the logic by code, which is what NLog does. So it could also do it dynamically because we could generate the C# code from C# and just generate the assembly that contains the code like NLog would have generated. So it's still dynamic because you can reconfigure it. But when you want to freeze the configuration, you can say, now, give me the parser by generating the code for the parser in an optimized way. And then you have the Fluent API that you can test and it's easily debuggable. And when it works, you can say, okay, now give me the optimal code, build it, compile it. So that's what a regular expression does. In regular expression, you can interpret the regular expression every time, or you can say compile, which will generate the code that is actually doing by interpreting, but generating it a one-off in an optimized way. And this way you get better, faster performance on regular expression. So that's the same logic. And these guys are small ones. They are super easy to understand. Well, that's what a 0 or 1 does. It just takes a parser and say, does it match? No. Well, whatever. I match something, even if it match 1 or not, because it's the 0 or 1. You see that all these things are just simple implementation. So here in this case, instead of executing this method, you will just forward for the sub1 to say, write your code. And if the sub1 is just read integer, then it will just read integer. But so that's why I think it's simple to go to the level of the lower level. See the star, for instance, 0 many, super simple. 0 many, it tries to parse, and if it doesn't, it says, oh, that's still fine because 0 works. But the 1 or many, I have a 1 or many. I have a 1 or many. 1 or many says parse once. If it doesn't work, you failed. If it works, then you can read as many as you want, and then you succeeded. So that's how it works. That's super easy to implement actually when you get the logic, and you just need to provide lots of little helpers like this. So or you will be allowed to cut everything I said during the meeting because it's kind of not related.
Well, I think it's I think it's good because people that wants to develop with Archer now have some explanation of what is Parlot, and I think it's fine.
Yeah, so that's why Isham started his PR to convert the SQL grammar into that we use using irony into Parlot.
Yeah, now I understand better. Yeah,
and it should not be that hard because this is the same Bacchus no kind of grammar, and I actually find the Parlot one much easier to read than the irony one because you can read it this way, and you don't have in irony you have to split that in multiple different things that will call into each other. Here, the notion of recursivity is already there. And that's what is nice with these tags, because if I take, for instance, a comment tag is comment and comment, contains lots of tags. Okay, it's just not parsed. So how it works here, you say just comment. Well, that's not a good example. If I take the if tag, okay, takes a tags list. So I can put the tags list inside my tag. And the way it won't find the endif as a tag is that there is nothing for endif in the list. So when it finds endif, it says, it's not a tag. So it stops reading the tags list and then it continues there. And it says, oh, now I know that I want to tag an endif. So, this recursivity is super nice. And in irony, it's super hard to make. And the fact that you can also express directly the AST you want in C# when you find a node. Like when I find else and then a tags list, I say the result of this thing is an else statement. And the property of the else element is the list of statements, which is actually the tags list. The tags list is a list of statements. And so this is a statement, this is a statement, and when everything is read from an if, it returns an if statement with the item 1, which is the tags list, item 2, which is this one, item 3, and so on. Okay, so this is using tuple, super useful also. So that's super readable actually when you want to look at it and implement it or change the thing. Here or many one of, like in the for loop, you can have limits value, offset value, reverse value in any order. So the way I did that is that I did one of these 3, 0 or many. So you can have many other. And in the end, I think I take the first one or the last one, whatever is defined. So if you have 2 limits, I take the last limit. C# code, super nice, integrated into the parser. That's it. Okay, done. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I was looking at the SQL parser and SQL grammar classes, and I kind of understand what needs to be done there.
Super interesting to learn. I mean, we are all developers, so we want to solve puzzles and to teach machines to read stuff and to do things. So that's something that's super interesting to try to do. Like you saw my story, I did some manual parser, but I never did a parser that can be reused. I always used parsers, Antela, Irony, and others. Remember?
Hey, question.
Yeah.
So there are lots of cases where we as developers, we have to quickly parse something, extract some information from text, and we go to regular expressions in lots of cases. Can you say something about the comparison with, that sort of thing, extracting content using regular expressions? How does it compare in terms of, perf and ease of use? I mean, that. Yeah,
I thought about it actually.
That than regular expressions any day, but how do we compare?
I had a thought about it yesterday in the opposite way, saying actually that's bad, because for the same reason as regular expressions. Because when I see regular expression in the code, I'm like, if you can not use it, don't use it, because there are lots of vectors to break your code with that. So last year I had to update or should
and it's terrible to manage as well.
Yes. Well, I've been doing regular expressions for 20 years. I still need to go on the website to write a regular expression.
Yeah, same
like is the dollar at the end or the end? Or is it the...
Oh, come on.
Yeah, well, you see why. Or just the details, like,
Yeah.
And And you have tools. That's why you have so many tools like helpers on the web or locally. Like they are super nice tools to show you what happens when you type something. And I have the same issue with the grammar. Like now when you start.
Actually, if you had some tooling around that, that would be pretty cool. Something like LinkPad, maybe LinkPad itself, actually.
That's why I like with Irony. They have that. In Irony, you can pass a file, and they have a WinForm tool that will show you the AST, a generic AST, with all the things it finds when you throw some text at it. That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I used it a lot.
I'm thinking you might be able to use LinkPad for that.
Probably. But yeah, so when I was building the free grammar, I had this issue, the tooling, like it doesn't work. Where did it not work? And that's why I did see the name here. So now I can add a name to a node. So when I debug, I know which one I mean, like the skip, and I have so many of them, I don't know. So the idea is that also what I added is, if you look at the parser, sorry, the iParser, no, the parser class.
So there is the maintainability part, there is the tooling part, but there is also the performance part. Recently, I tried to refactor some code that was using regular expressions to use some custom logic that I thought would be faster. And actually, regular expressions are amazingly fast.
Yeah, their structure. Yeah, I think I saw how it worked in the big gray book with all the algorithms that very famous.
It's amazing. It's magic.
And I'm like, what the fuck? How did they think about it? And it's beautiful. The state tree that they have to find. I'm like, what? But yeah, probably for the simple things, it's faster to do by hand. But so what I was saying earlier is that when I say don't use a regular expression because it's risky, I actually thought that it's actually the same for parser, because with regular expression, you need to pass a timeout. If you don't do it, that's wrong, because it can time out if you pass a wrong entry. It can go into an infinite state.
Sure.
And actually in this parser, there is no timeout, and that's bad, because how many times did I have a Stack Overflow in my language?
Right.
It's very easy to see. Look, let me show you an example. Here, it's all in the details, but
and there might I'm thinking there's probably some security implications here.
Well,
you could use poison, right?
Yeah. So here, liquid is what? Is either it's a set of tags like this, or text. This is what it is. So if you have something like foo bar, it says, oh, is it something like this? It says no. Is it something like that? It says no. Then it's a text, and it reads, and the text reads until it finds that. Then it starts again. Is it something like this? No. Is it something like that? Yes, that's it. That's how it passes. But now if I do text before, I mean, is it a text? Yes. Okay, start again. Is it a text? No, start again. There is a case where you can have infinite loop because it doesn't work. And this case will depend on what text you pass inside. So you don't know. You might actually have grammar that will have a Stack Overflow. And I had a few of them when I was developing. And you can only find it when someone types something wrong or knows how it works and can crash your app. So when you have Stack Overflow, then you're done. You can restart your application. So the same reason for regular expression, it's super risky actually. So I was thinking, well, maybe we should not use a parser, because the same reason I say don't use a regular expression. Or at least I should provide the same fallback mechanism as regular expression, like a timeout, like steps. I do that in Gin, for instance. If you have a recursivity more than 100, stop it. There is an issue in the language. And that's why the Parlot context, or the parse context here, which is common to the full navigation, I started to add the enter parser. So every time you enter a new parser node, like text, output, decimal, and one many, it will invoke it if you want. So you can trace what's happening. And we can also provide some count, like counter ++, and if counter superior at 1000, then 1000, then throw an exception, like too complex issue. I could not resolve that. There is an issue. Stop. Safety nets. And the same way.
That sounds very necessary.
So we need that. So and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, if you can come up with a couple of test cases that compare with regular expressions, it'd be interesting to see the performance of that.
Yeah, and there is the low level and the high level. So with the low level, I don't expect regular expression to be faster, because what I did is that and that's why I took it from Shortcodes. I optimized it in a way there was no allocation using the spans, the read-only spans or the internal spans, allocating very few using ref structs, all the things you can think into C# to make code fast.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm a fan already.
Great. So and now I want to see some.
Did you say where the name came from?
I didn't say that. I think it's a good name. Every French guy who finds it says it's a good name. I think even some English one understood what it meant. So Parlot is a French pronunciation of a word. Well, it's not like you write it in French, but if you say it in French, it means like chit chat or someone who talks a lot. And it's nice because parser, which is, I assume, the language in German. So it's kind of the same logic, like language stuff, like analyzing syntax. I like it. And I don't know how I found it. It was kind of easy, actually. I was looking at parse something, and then
Sprache is speech, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
It means speech, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
Sprache.
Okay. Yeah, I assume. I don't know. I have to Google that, but probably. Language. Or maybe there are different meanings for that. Just Google that says that. So, yeah. Chat. But it's written like this. In French, you will write it this way.
It's a very uncommon word. I'm wondering if actually it's something like a local word.
Parlot, I googled that, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
So that's great. Like, boom. See?
Yeah,
direct.
That's pretty cool.
It's on GitHub 3. But I finished it like Sunday night. Okay. I spent my tweet. So it's super new. That's why I didn't talk about it. I wanted also to have to validate that with a real grammar. Okay, if I can parse Fluid, if I can parse Liquid, I can parse anything, because there are some very weird things, and I made helpers on the way.
We use Parser on my team, and
wow,
I've already advertised your library on our teams.
Okay.
On our team's team.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, changing the grammar from Sprache to Parlot should be super easy. You see, I mean, it'll be easier.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is that it will be already much faster. Okay. And if you are on the web, the load and the locations, it will be important. And then the next level is to convert it to the raw level. It's super easy, so easy. I mean, once you have that and it works, and all you need is pass, just do translation manually. If we don't have the tool that generates it automatically yet, I mean, that's so easy. I did that for the calc mathematical expression. So these are my tests. So the calc here, I did 3 of them, actually, super interesting. So the Fluent parser for the mathematical expression is, you see, so this one recursive because unary is using unary. This is a unary, and it uses minus unary, so it has to be recursive. And negate expression, the factor is division or multiplication, and it's just unary expression and as many times divided or times and unary. You have to read it, but super easy. And from that's the Fluent. Okay, super easy, right? To write the expression. Yeah. This is ncalc. That's why the other guy used Sprache to make calc, because that's how you write it. And then this is the low level one, and the low level has 2 implementations. There is the parser, the parser one, which returns the same object model, but parse expression. So if
that's not too bad.
See, that's super easy. And the same, it's the same grammar. I show how to map it. It's actually the same thing, like parsenary, read dash, and then negate of the inner. And the inner is just parse expression. Well, parsenary expression, and so on. So very easy. And then, so this one creates an expression tree also. And then there is the interpreter version that will evaluate each node as it finds it. So there is no intermediate AST.
So what's the point of that?
There is no allocation for the AST. It's just when it finds a number, it computes the number and it returns it to the caller. And the caller, if it says times, okay, let's do it now. So it doesn't create an intermediate object that will be visited after. So it's much faster. But you can't apply that to many things. For math, that's fine, but that's it.
Oh, okay.
Because you know when you are inside the times, you can evaluate the times and stack the value. When you are in liquid, you can't allocate a string just for the else if and then put back up, and you have lots of strings everywhere otherwise. It's not poppable. You want a stream of stuff in order to be able to write to a text string. So you need an intermediate representation that then you can write in order. That's, yeah. It depends.
Okay, that makes sense.
Differently. But I did that as well. And the JSON grammar, I mean, it's a minimalistic JSON grammar just to match the benchmarks. But super simple because there is a string helper that asks you, do you want the double quote, the single quote, or both? And it will do all the things for you for the string, okay? And then here, this is the expression tree. The array is left bracket, right bracket. I use the between helper, and inside I say separated anything JSON by comma. This is an array. It's like 20 chars to define an array of.
Hold on.
JSON.
So you have a decent. I mean,
this is JSON.
I suppose it doesn't support everything, but you have a decent JSON parser in what, 100 lines of code?
100. I'm 56.
No.
Well, the grammar is 20 lines. We have to try. But yeah, there is no numbers. To add numbers here, the string, you have to do JSON number and then the primary, which is string or number or date. But that's it. And then it's done because that's all you need to add.
Okay. I'm excited.
Have to try. So Orchard done. Okay, we can black authority. I should find new Canadian words for my next project. Then I'll try to find. Oh, we still have people there. They're not gone. Oh my god, Gabor. Sorry, I assume Gabor you should cut the. I don't know. You can do 2 parts: the Orchard part and then the other part. That's fine.
As you wish.
Or add a banner saying at that point you can leave the meeting and say this is all about.
Yeah, just geeking out about parsers. I suppose that doesn't excite everyone, but it does excite me a lot. It's amazing work. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, done. See you everyone on Thursday for the triage. Everyone, whoever comes, everyone here, almost. And next Tuesday for the next meeting. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.